I'm looking at just the one problem he brought up. Then we're going to do this little activity and then start SQLing, doing some SQL practice. But let me bring up the chapter. Chapter 7. And the question, well, let's go ahead and, while I'm taking a look at that, bring up that Schoology assignment description, and I'm going to make sure this is going to work for you. So in the assignments, underneath the chapter 7 is basically today's activity, basically giving you credit to just be following along chapter 7 SQL practice. So here is the description of the assignment.
Just click on something in the background.
Full screen. So basically, connect to this database, and I'm going to demonstrate how to do that. I've left some of the things kind of foggy for you to figure out on your own, so purposely. So I'm going to start up SSMS here. Pretty sure I installed it here. SSMS, yep, Circle Management Studio 18. Bring it over to this screen in a second. Be sure to copy that string. That's the string you're going to use to connect to the server. That's the server name. It's out there in Azure world.
Were you able to make it with the school email?
Yeah. But I do pay for it. So you do have to, when you start going beyond the free, I don't know if they even let you sign up without a credit card. So I didn't want to make you have to do that. But if they do let you do it for free, it's something that's great for you to learn if you kind of like databases. And here is SQL Server Management Studio. I'm going to disconnect.
What assignment is this?
This is right under Chapter 7, called Chapter 7 SQL Practice Setup.
What? I literally just refreshed.
It won't let me close a window. I'm trying to close a bunch of extra windows so I don't have garbage over for you on the recording. Okay, here's SQL Server Management Studio. Now I've copied that database server name. So I click on the connect. It may bring this up at the start anyway when you start up SQL Server Management Studio. The server name is now that server name that I just gave you. That goes in server name. I'm going to use SQL Server Authentication. And my login, I'm going to use, let's see, what login did I give you? Let's see here, I gave you logins. I'm going to use the cs412 user. So that's the user I'm going to use. You have a user personally for your own, you have your own database. I know I'm gonna use Gustav just since he's not here. I'm gonna copy his just to show you what you have to do to connect to the Gustav database. You each have a database to go with your last name. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to here. The login is gonna be Gustav, and there's the password that I've given Gustav. Paste that in there. Now we're not done here though. If you try to connect with the default options, it's going to try to connect you to the master database and likely give you an error message. So we want to go to options and tell it, instead of connecting to the default database, we want to connect it to the database that goes with our last name. Everything else we can leave the same and click connect. I've used the protocol, same. Don't mess with those. And let's see if I can connect. It is a lowest cost possible SQL server. It's going to cost me about $5 a month. So it's not going to be super responsive, but it does let me connect from anywhere on the internet. That's what I like about this. You don't have to be in the lab, you don't have to be in the student network. It's out there on the internet in Azure. And it's a little slower responding. Don't wait till last minute to do these things. You will get the spinning sometimes. It is set up to go to sleep after an hour of inactivity, saving me money, and it's on a shared server, and it's minimal amount of memory for it. And you'll see this spinning as it's connecting. At least I haven't got an error message connecting to it. Okay, while that's connecting, let's see what I need to do. All I need to do is display the advanced options page where you specify your database to which you are connecting. Oh, I forgot to take those. I think if I go here and I go options, I can take a screenshot of that. So go ahead and take a screenshot of that. A Control-Alt print screen will give you that window. Control-Alt print screen. And I can bring up a Google page to keep track of that. I'll go ahead and bring up a Google Doc. Let's see. I'll bring Google Docs to my cs412 page. So I'm going to go to my cs412 folder that I have in Google Docs. And I'll make a new document called Chapter 7 Homework. And I'll paste that screenshot there. So log in, screenshot. Now if you want to do college quality work, do something like an MLA style assignment for Chapter 4, Chapter 7, cs412, fall 2022, Emmaus Bible College. You can put the instructions in there. Here's the screenshot of the login. Paste. If you want to reduce the size of it, as long as it's readable, you don't have to make it full size. And the key thing is here, I'm connecting to the database that belongs to my user. Okay?
You just want to select reconnect kind of if you're at screenshot.
Well, if you just click the connect, it'll pop that up.
If you go,
You don't even have to reconnect. You just click on the plug and it shows you what your settings are. See, I'm already connected, and I can just click on it, and it shows me that. Just open options. So I don't have to disconnect and reconnect. Now, to see the databases that I have, click the plus, and because this user has been set up to only be the owner of the desktop database, that's the only one that he'll see. Even though here in the queries, I have created a bunch of databases, but because of the way I created your users, and I just thought I'd share with you, these are actually query commands on the master database that actually creates your logins. To allow you to be the owner, I had to run these two query commands. Something that you only do at the very start in dealing with ownership of things. But just giving you a sample of real queries that have, this is the purpose of setting up a database. In the book, they talk about queries that create tables, update, select, that you end up playing with the select the most. But this is the queries I had to run to actually give you ownership of your own database. And if you run your own SQL Server, you'll learn how to do these kind of things. I did it by searching for login, create login memis SQL, because I don't remember how to do it from the SQL. I've been so spoiled by using user interfaces to create users and things. So now you have your database. What do you need to do next? Let's see here. Back to the Schoology instructions. Oh, I was just there. Display output showing the contents of your successfully imported product table from the sale code database. Do you all have your sale code database? Do you remember where you got that from?
maybe.
Maybe. Let me show you where you get that from. On the course page, you have the database files that go with the textbook. If you haven't downloaded those yet, you can download those and unzip them and there's a chapter 7 folder. And it's not a terribly slow login. Let me go ahead and just see how long that takes to download. I don't need to see events.
Is it in the chapter 7?
I don't have to do them all. I can just browse down into chapter 7, and even if I'm in there, I can just go to databases. The only one I want is that chapter 7 Saleco. That's really the only one you need to download right now. You're welcome to join the entire chapter 7, but there's the database. I'm going to right click, download that, just that one database. Warned you about the download. It's putting it down in my D volume cs412. That's a good place to put it. Wait a minute, outer joins. I grabbed the wrong one. Not outer joins. Where's the Saleco? There it is at the very bottom. I don't know why I can't scroll all the way to the bottom. That's annoying. My toolbar is blocking that one that I want. I guess I have to restore down a bit just so I can see that. There, that's the one I want. Chapter 7 Saleco download. Putting it in my cs412 database folder, and where's my save button? Am I not being able to see my save button? There.
Which of the Saleco files was it again?
Cho7 Saleco MDB.
Not MySQL?
No, because we're not running MySQL. This one actually might work. You could actually run the queries. This might actually create your. This might actually create the tables, but we want to go through the import process to make sure we get it right. If you want to try, you could try it with this and run that query, and it actually might work. But you have to copy paste the query into a new query window. I'm going to do the import, and I'm going to try that query as well. Now, for Mr. Jonah, I'm going to go back and delete all these tables to make sure Jonah has to do it on his own, and I'm not just doing it for him. Okay? So I have that database. Remember how we did this before? This is the database I want to import the data into. So I want to right-click, tasks. Boy, slow response there. Right-click.
Maybe you should have paid for the more than $5 one.
Yeah. Right-click tasks, import data. Right-click tasks, import data. And I go through the prompt. You can click do not show at starting if you like. The data source is an Access Database Engine.
This is the Saleco one, right?
And the data files, yeah. If you browse the data files, that's a Google shared folder. You can go down into the chapter 7. It's at the very bottom one.
It's the Jet Database Engine, you said?
Yeah, Jet Database Engine. That means it'll get it from Access. And I have to go to my documents, cs412. Wait, didn't I put it there? What it did was it downloads. Let's see. It's not finding it. Oh, I think it was on my other disk. There we go.
My database is in my other disk.
CH07 Saleco MDV. That's the one I want to import the data from. That's the Jet Database Engine. Don't worry about username and password. It's not protected, so I'd leave those blank. Next, I'm bringing it into my SQL Server native client, and for some reason, even though I'm already connected, it wants to ask me for my username and password again. That would be your last name and then that password. Ancientdata.22, 2022.
Oh, you said it out loud. I don't know.
Native client?
Native client 11. So that is the protocol that SQL Server talks.
It just didn't let me, it just wasn't showing up because I didn't scroll down. I didn't realize I needed to scroll down.
And now, if our world is right, if I've typed in the password, it should bring me to, oh yeah, copied from one table to another. I don't know if it'll give me an error until it actually tries to run the query. Here's where I say, well, yeah, get in all the tables.
All the tables or just the product table?
Well, you can just do the product table you like, but all the tables is good. If you want to do the queries, I'm thinking the queries, it looks to me like the queries have been converted to something importable if I go back and look at the database. But I'm going to import them anyway because I'm just curious. And now I click Next and run immediately. And finish. And then I should see lots of green as it slowly runs those queries. If I had a more expensive server, it would go instantly, I think.
Everyone do it at the same time.
I don't know how much of this depends on the speed of my PC and SQL Server Management Studio, sending up queries and executing them, waiting for the Azure out in the cloud server to respond.
Considering how fast it's imported other databases before when we weren't doing it on a server like this.
Now it's all done. 49 total, 48 success, 1 warning. I'm going to ignore the warning. Now, this is the one you want to take a screenshot of before you close it.
Are you sure?
Control Alt Print Screen.
That's not what the screenshot thing said.
What did it say? Oh yeah, never mind. It did say the contents of your products table. That's right. Sorry. The contents of your
Saved
products.
you a heart attack over there.
Yeah, there you go.
Patrick.
Sorry about that, Patty. It doesn't hurt. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there since I remembered. I'm going to go and put that in my document of the successful log import. Fix my spelling. Now comes a little bit of SQL practice, a little bit of squilling. So let's go back to SSMS. Oh, and what is the query I want? I want the query to display the output showing the contents of your successfully imported product table. Well, let's find out, did it actually import? I come back to my database, click the plus, wait for it to expand, click plus on tables, and if I see lots of tables there, the import actually worked. There it is, the database object called product. To actually display the contents, we need to write a query that queries this database, this Gustav database. So I'm going to right-click, new query. I have to do that on each database I have. What this means is this query will be run connecting to that database. They call it running against the Gustav database. And if you hover over it, you'll see that, oh, that's a query that's going to be running against or using the database.windows.net.gustav database. And it shows that here as well. That's the name of the database that I'm querying against. Here is now where we get to practice our SQL. The basic select query. This is the easiest query ever. You don't have to do all caps because they just get annoying to me. Select star from and then database name or table name. Now this part does annoy me. It does not care. But most MySQL engines do care. But you can leave it lowercase, table name even, and let's see what we get when we try to execute. Select star from product. Look at that. It is very lenient on case sensitivity. It is case insensitive. This is the basic query, basic saying, show me everything in that table. And there's lots of parameters to the select query, but this is the very basic one to start with. Show me everything in that table, and then let me pick through the data. Typically what you do in a program, like Python, Perl, or PHP running on the server, you run a query and then code that reads through the result set. This is the result set of that query, and you'll read through different items. I'll take a screenshot of this. Wait a minute. Are we done yet? Let's see. Screenshot. Contents of your product table. Yes. Star is the contents. Now, what if I only want one column? I can do this. I can do select P code from product. Run that, and it just shows me that column. Go back to stars if I remember the name of my columns. Or if I don't remember the names of my columns, I think I can come over here If I click here, does it show my column names? Yeah, that helps me remember what columns are available. Then I can go select P code, comma, P descript. Guess what it's going to show? Those two columns in the results. To make it more readable, I can do the select what I'm selecting and have the from on a separate line. And let's add one more column. Let's add the V code. Run that, and I get those 3 columns. Suppose, though, I want my results to be alphabetized in order of the description. How do I sort the output? Well, I add sort by P descript. Let's see what happens with this one. Oh, it doesn't recognize by. Let's try sort. Is it sort on? Uh-oh, I forgot my syntax for sorting. I might have to look it up.
I think order by.
Order by, that's right, order by. It was the wrong word. By was the right word. It's order by. Now, you can use Access to practice. If you remember your Access, remember I could create queries in Access? I could come over here in Access, and on my product table, I could create a query design on my product table. And I can add to the design field the description, the P code, put that first, and V code, and order sort. Oh, that's where I got sort, because Access says sort. Ascending. Let's see what that looks like in the design view of that query. I mean the SQL view. Look at that. That shows me, oh yeah, it's order by. If you know Access, you can use it to help you with your SQL. It's not always the same, but it can be a very helpful way to practice, trying to figure out what was the SQL code. Even better, you memorize SQL and you learn it as a language. But Access is a fine tool to go practice if you remember how to use Access. So it wouldn't hurt.
Do we need to do from product and product.p descript because the query is connected? Oh no, it's connected to Gressman. That's right.
Yeah. So these are the 3. Now go back to SSMS.
What is that, hold on. What is that random? Never mind. It's okay.
Okay.
We're good. I just did things slightly differently.
And there we have it now, sorted alphabetically by P descript.
By the vendor name.
Oh, we're going to be getting the vendor name in that 3rd one. That's right. So this is the products alphabetical. But now we also want the vendor name added. How are we going to do that? Well, the V code gives me my vendor code, but the vendor name is over in the vendor table. If I go back and view my vendor table down here, I see that the columns in the vendor table have the V name there. How am I going to do that? Well, here's how we get data from multiple tables. It's in the from product, comma, vendor. Let's see what happens if I do this. Uh-oh, he's got a problem. Ambiguous column name, V code. Why has this become ambiguous?
It's not in vendor.
Yeah, it's in V code. V code is in the vendor table and in the product table. Since it's the same, well, it's not the same yet. I do product.vcode. Now, I can also, as this gets, I will zoom out a little bit. What this says, give me the product.vcode. That then says, okay, I know where to get the V code from. But my problem is, if I do it right now, I'm going to get a huge list. and I might crash something, so I'm not going to do it since I know I have a slower server. I don't want to get, if I do it this way, I'll get, for every product, I'll get all the vendors' V codes listed. Actually, I'm not getting anything from the vendor table yet. What I want to also be listed, let's see if I can put that on another line. Product.vcode and comma vendor dot vname. Oh, look at that. It does some little bit of autocomplete there for me. It likes to capitalize it annoyingly. If I do this, I'm going to get every vendor name for every product. So, well, I'm not going to run it because I'm afraid of the results. But I need to add here the ever important where clause. This is what I call the where clause. I only care about the data where product.vcode is equal to the vendor.vcode. Remember that relationship between the two tables? This is the relationship. The V code here is related to the V code in my vendor table. This is the same as doing the natural join. I just like using the where clause because my code, I think it makes my code more readable when I'm debugging my SQL queries, which I spent hours and hours doing when I was writing some code for somebody. It's just easier to remember, hey, the link, the relationship is the product V code is equal to the vendor V code when I'm looking for the vendor name. Now, I'm not sure why I got the yellow squigglies. What's his problem? Oh, the order by, I think, has to come last. Yeah, order by has to come last. You have the where clause has to become in between, or at the order has to come at the very last. This is the inner join. Now, I don't know if I can intersperse comments. Let's just see if it'll let me intersperse comments right in the middle of the query. It's not complaining. This is the equivalent of an inner join. Just show me when I find a vendor code equal to the vendor code in same vendor code in both tables. That's how I get the vendor name. Now at this point, do I care to list the V code? I really don't, but it doesn't hurt to show it. Let's run the query and see what I get. Oh, V vendor, what did I do wrong there? Vendor.vname. I wonder if it doesn't like that being on a separate line. Do you think that's what matters?
Works for me.
Works for me.
I have other issues.
Well, it's because it's caps.
You think?
It might be.
That's annoying. Let's try that.
It doesn't care about the caps for me.
I must have had a weird character in there because it worked fine. I'm gonna go back all caps. See if that really made the difference. I would be surprised if that made the difference because I didn't think it was. I don't know why it gave me that error. Goofy. Okay. Well, I'll come and help Patrick with that. But do you get a kind of an idea of why that query is working that way? This is the basics of query. Make sure you have a really good handle on this, because this is the heart of database manipulation. Selects are the safest thing because select doesn't change it, the user's reading. Once I know that I have a good select, then I say, okay, if I want to update those things, then I change it to an alter or an update or delete. Just before I ever run a delete, I run it as a select. Make sure I'm deleting or planning to delete the right thing. Gonna do a little debugging here with Patrick. Read the script. What's the first there?
Star.
Multi-part
Tell me
identifier
all
product.
the
be bound. Ooh, that's interesting. Well, V code, you need to put product.v code, or not use V code, because V code is going to be ambiguous.
Okay.
Either delete it or put product or vendor.v code, since it's the same in both tables. And he said, what was ambiguous?
We got a little bit wet.
Check your where. I think it may be in the where clause that it's complaining.
Apparently there's a lot of data in this database.
Product.v code.
Like over 80,000 entries. Over 242.
And if our product.v code line 4, let's say.
Oh wait. I stopped product and
Select star average.
There you go. Okay. Just a little typo I couldn't see.
Select star.
Maybe select star from
No, select star.
Okay, so
No, yeah, but I want
this is that first query. This is the third query. Then that'd be your third screenshot. Products alphabetically. Oh, have we done alphabetically? Order by, yeah, order by. Oh, sorry. I did, in mine, I did order by product description. Let's order by vendor name. That would be, instead of order by P descript, order by V name. And since V name is only in the vendor table, I don't think I have to do vendor.v name. Let's see. There we go.
Wait, the vendor name's not in there.
Yeah, and if you don't have vendor name, well, then you don't have anything to order by. So here is your query, and here's the result. We do see them sorted alphabetically by vendor name.
Oh, product name vendor.
So here is where the joining happens. Now I'm going to do a screenshot of that, and that's what you would put in your report. Control-Alt, print screen, and put it in my document of my success here. Products ordered by vendor name. And there's the lovely screenshot of that.
Oh, he doesn't want to do it until it's done with the last query.
Now in the chapter, I'm going to jump ahead to the question Patrick had. Patrick, you've worked through these, right?
Almost all of them.
All right. So I'm looking at, let's see if I can bring up this question that Patrick had. Let's see here. I'm going way to the bottom. There's 67 pages in the instructor's manual. And I'm looking at, what number question was it? Remember the question number?
hold on.
I can bring it up, I suppose. There.
It's fine. I can open my file.
Okay.
That's what it says in the document.
All right. I'll make sure I got the right question here. All right, down to that question 22. Okay, so we have an assignment table.
Assignment table.
And here's the question. I'll bring it up on the screen. We have an assignment table. We want the SQL code to present that will give total number of hours worked for each employee and the total charges stemming from those hours worked. Total number of hours worked for each employee. So you see we have, is it each one a different employee? The total number of hours worked, that will be, so total number of hours worked would be sum of assigned hours. So here's what we want to see in our query result. But what do we have for tables? That's where we have to look at our table arrangement. Here is our tables. Where's our table description? Here. Here's our relationship between our tables. So what do we have here? We have assignments assigned to a particular employee. And let's just think that we're looking for employee 101, news. We want the sum of their hours. Let's just worry about that first, then we'll get the charges. Total number of hours worked for each employee. Okay, so, well, we can get the hours, but they also want the last name. So, in the assignment table, we have employee number. Let's just try to get the total number of hours for employee number 101. Well, how would we do that? Well, we have employee number, and we have tasks, and an assign hours column. Well, if I could get the employee, if I knew it was employee 101, how would I get the total number of hours for employee number 101? Well, let's see what that query would look like. That was 20, see if I can find this. It's going to be a select query. Let's walk you through that query. Let's see here. I'm going to bring up Notepad underneath here. Let's see if I can bring up Notepad at the bottom here. Maybe I'll bring up Notepad at the top. Okay, so if I want hours for the employee, well, where am I going to find that? It's going to be in the assignment table. All right? And let's see, is it going by project number? Oh, let's first of all see what the results are in the answer. So I go down to that answer. They want employee number, name, hours, charge. Okay? Well, employee, name, hours, charge. So back in my query, where do I have employee number? Well, it's in the assignment table. So I do a select assignment dot empnum. All right, that's the empnum column, comma, assignment dot emp name. Oh, wait a minute. Assignment doesn't have the employee name. Where do I have the employment name? It's in the employee table. So it's not assignment.empName, it's employment.employee.empName. And it's their last name, L name. See that L name? And before I go on, I'm going to remember that later on I'm going to have a where clause between the two tables where assignment.empNum equals employee.empNum. Remember, that's the relationship between those two tables. So that's going to be the where clause. I'll capitalize this, just emphasize. That's the where clause that's going to go with all of this. Now, what was the other? I need the sum of assign hours. How do we get sum of assign hours? Well, there is a function that's built in called sum. And I can just get the sum of assignment dot assign hours. That's a field in the assignment table. Now, if I don't do this next thing, I'm going to get a weird heading on the top of my table. So this gives me my heading when I do as sum of assign hours. That is what determines this heading right here when I do the as. I'll zoom out just a bit so you can read all of that. This gives me the sum of their hours. This will give me this column right here. Does that make sense? It's not going to make sense at first unless you read about, oh, there is a function called sum, and you just tell it what field to give you the sum over. And now I can do the same thing with the sum of charges, because assign charge is another field. So the next column, this now will be my first, second, third, fourth column will be the sum of, and this would be assignment dot, what is the column? Well, it's assigned charge. And again, because I want a better, more readable heading, I'm going to do the as sum of assign charge. These are my 4 columns. And I'm just going to make it nice and readable here. This is the 4 columns I'm going to get in my table. Is that making sense to you? These should be easy. I want, just show me the assignment number. Sorry, the employee number, because I know that's in the assignment table. The name of the employee I know is only in the employee table, so I have to do employee.emplname. And that reminds me, this is how they're joined. They're joined on the equivalency of the employee number in both tables. Now the only thing left to do is the from part. From, well, both tables are the employee table and the assignment table. There is only one thing left to do to make sure that their sums are properly grouped. And this is where another clause comes in, where we do the group by. And if I were able to do all this testing, I could import these tables into my SQL database. I think I don't know. I think Access will do. Access will give you totals. I think you could let Access will help you with this as well if you import this into Access and then see the SQL. But here's what we want to do a group by. We want to group by assignment dot empnum and employee dot emplname. I would try it with or without the group by part, and see what the difference would be in your results.
I tried without the group by and it did not work in
Get-
SSMS.
Did it give you an error, or did it?
It gave an error.
So the sum is wanting a group by, I wonder? I wonder if the sum demands a group by. Yeah.
Because I tried this before, but I didn't group by them both.
Oh, okay.
By both of them, which caused the same error. Caused an error.
So basically, I'm giving you the solution to problem 22 just to save you a bit of time. Here it is fully. And this is also recorded. I will upload this video for you. And I'm going to then go delete all the tables from the Gustav database, so he has to do his own tables.
Did you say we're working on this in class?
Just this part. I did this part for you.
Okay, but
Yeah.
like the rest of it, are we doing this on Friday or are we doing it?
Friday is just the midterm.
Oh, yeah.
So on Friday there'll be some basic SQL stuff. We'll work on more understanding all of this SQL, but if you work through some of those problems, you'll be prepared for the midterm. There's going to be the easier questions from Chapter 7, more of the basic selects and the terminology.
So it is including Chapter 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a question.
Yeah, so the midterm is about 10 questions from each chapter, multiple choice from the chapter quizzes. So review your chapter quizzes, you'll be doing great. There will be one assignment like this to connect to an online database and run a query and show me the proof that you connected and ran a query. So now that you've done it in class, you now are ready to do it again and connect and run a query against your SailCode database. All right. Have a great day. And I will upload that video immediately here.
Thank you, Mr. Mandy.
You betcha. You bet. Okay. All right, stopping the recording.